So last week, Apple wrapped up WWDC 26, and I have to admit something I never thought I'd say. Apple finally showed up to the AI party. Sure, they arrived about 2 years late, carrying a fruit tray nobody asked for, but hey, at least they made it. In this video, I'm going to give you a recap of the event. Let's get to it. The biggest announcement was without question Siri AI. Yes, Siri. That digital assistant we spent the last decade yelling at because it couldn't figure out whether we wanted directions, a weather forecast, or the meaning of life. Apple has apparently rebuilt Siri from the ground up, turning it into a much more capable AI assistant that can understand context, hold conversations, work across apps, and generally do the kind of things people expected Siri to do sometime around 2017. According to Apple, the new Siri AI is smarter, more conversational, and more useful than ever, which is great because the previous version had the intelligence of a confused toaster. But Siri wasn't the only thing getting the AI treatment. Basically, Apple sprinkled AI on everything. iOS 27 gets more AI features, macOS 27 gets more AI features, Safari gets more AI features, Photos gets more AI features, Messages gets more AI features. At one point, I expected Tim Cook to announce an AI-powered shoelaces. If it had a screen, a battery, or even a vague electrical current running through it, Apple found a way to attach AI to it. And honestly, the entire keynote started sounding suspiciously like Google I.O. presentation. Every few minutes, it was AI this, AI that, intelligent experiences, contextual awareness, foundational models, AI-powered workflows. The only thing missing was someone walking on stage and accidentally calling Siri Gemini. In fact, there were multiple announcements that sounded so much like Google's presentation that I half expected Sundar Pichai to walk out and ask Apple to stop copying his homework. Speaking of Google, one of the most surprising parts of the event is that Apple's AI efforts now seem much more aligned with what we've seen from Google over the last couple of years. AI assistants that understand context, AI integrated throughout the operating system, AI helping with writing, editing, searching, and organizing information. If you watched Google I.O. recently, then watch WWDC, you may have had a severe case of deja vu. Of course, Apple being Apple, they repeatedly mentioned to everyone that their AI is different because privacy. Every AI feature came with a disclaimer that basically translated to, don't worry, your data is safe. We know you've seen the internet. To be fair, privacy has always been one of Apple's strongest selling points, so at least they're leaning into something unique instead of simply screaming AI louder than everyone else. Mac users are getting perhaps the most noticeable update. The desktop now feels even more modern with redesigned windows, menus, and system controls that better match the look of Apple's other platforms. Meanwhile, iPhone and iPad users are getting interfaces that feel more dynamic and visually consistent across devices. The overall goal seems to be making it easier to move between iPhone, iPad, Mac, Apple Watch, and Vision Pro without feeling like you're jumping between an entirely different operating system. And honestly, after watching the presentation, I couldn't help but think that Apple is slowly turning on all of its devices into different screen sizes running variations of the same software. Give it another 5 years, and your refrigerator might be running a version of iOS with Apple Intelligence, reminding you that you're out of milk. Another major theme throughout WWDC was Apple's software ecosystem getting even more connected. The company showcased improvements across iPhone, iPad, Mac, Apple Watch, and App Vision Pro. Everything is becoming more integrated, more aware of what you're doing, and more capable of helping you complete tasks without bouncing between apps all day. In theory, anyways. We'll see how much of that survives contact with reality. One thing that made this WWDC feel different is that it marked Tim Cook's final keynote as Apple CEO. After years of leading Apple through the iPhone era, the services era, and now the AI era, Cook is preparing to hand the reins over to John Ternus later this year. So in a weird way, this keynote felt like both a software showcase and a passing of the torch. Now let's address the question everyone has been asking. How many times did Apple actually say AI during the keynote? The official count isn't available as of the recording of this video, but based on the amount of AI branding, AI announcements, AI features, AI demos, and AI explanations, and AI buzzwords, the answer is somewhere between a lot and please make it stop. If someone turns the keynote transcript into a drinking game, emergency rooms are going to have a very busy week. Overall, WWDC 26 was probably Apple's most AI-focused event ever. Siri finally received the overhaul people have been begging for. Apple Intelligence continues expanding across ecosystems, and the company seems determined to convince the world that it's not behind in the AI race anymore. Whether they actually catch Google, OpenAI, and the rest of the competition remains to be seen, but one thing is certain. If Apple says AI a few hundred more times, investors might just believe it. And if I'm being honest, this was one of the most underwhelming Apple events I've seen in years. And no, that's not me comparing it to last year's WWDC, where Apple unveiled an entirely new design language and basically said, what if everything we made was made out of glass? This keynote felt weird even by Apple own standards. Normally, Apple walks us through each operating system separately. Here's iOS, here's iPadOS, here's macOS. Nice, clean, organized. This year, good luck. If you weren't physically looking at the screen, you had absolutely no idea whether a feature was coming to iPhone, iPad, Mac, Vision Pro, your Apple Watch, or your neighbor's toaster. At several points, it felt less like a keynote and more like one of those movie trailers where they cut scenes together so fast you have no idea what's happening, but they're hoping the dramatic music distracts you from asking questions. And honestly, I don't know what we're supposed to take away from that. Is this John Ternus quietly signaling a new direction for Apple's pre-recorded events? Or is this Apple finally admitting that what we've also expected for years? That every operating system is slowly merging into the same thing and they're just running out of excuses to pretend otherwise. Because let's be real, every year iPad gets more Mac features, Mac gets more iPad features, iPhone gets features from both, Vision Pro is borrowing from everybody. At this point, Apple's software lineup looks less like a family of operating systems and more like a group project where everyone keeps copying each other's homework. And while we're on the subject, where the hell was John Ternus? Seriously, the guy is supposed to be the incoming CEO. Tim Cook is basically on his farewell tour, yet Turnus was about as visible as from this during this keynote as Half-Life 3 was from a gaming announcement event. Was Apple giving Cook one final solo performance before he exits stage left? Was Turnus absent because this keynote was focused mostly on software? If so, shouldn't the future CEO maybe start getting involved in the software side of the company at some point? Or is he planning to hand all software decisions to somebody else? And if that's the case, who exactly is that someone else? By the end of the keynote, I had more questions than Apple had announcements. Every answer seems to generate 3 new mysteries. Honestly, just repeating all the questions I had after watching this event is giving me the headache all over again. So I'm going to stop before Siri AI hears me complaining and schedules me an appointment with a therapist. Anyways, let me know in the comments if you're excited about the new Siri AI and if you're still waiting for Apple to release a calculator app that doesn't somehow require machine learning. As always, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, X, yes, I'm still calling it Twitter, and of course right here on YouTube at J.R. Abrams Tech. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.